Hello YouTube, this is Morgan, Airspeed Prime here at my next Naruto Shippuden episode review. This one is going to be for episode 467, Ashura's Decision. So straight away, link to watch the episode if you haven't seen it yet is in the description below. That's exactly where I watched it. But yeah, this is a review. Let's get into this episode. Once again, really loving this arc, and this was another excellent episode in my mind. This is really good. It's got to the stage now where it is just really good. I think some of the initial Kaguya stuff and Hagoromo stuff was a little bit like, okay, it's not maybe as good as it could be, maybe not giving us as much detail as they could, but Indra and Ashura, like, they're really getting behind the character development on these. That this is such a key, relationship and two characters to get right, that they are giving us so much focus on them. And I really liked Ashura last episode, and then this episode just even further kind of shows that, in that this is the episode where Hagoromo, as well as us as the audience, are just like, yes, that is why you have to choose Ashura as the successor to Ninshu over Indra. And I just really like how they kind of played this episode, in that, of course, Indra returned first, and we didn't see much of what he did, because I think the implication on his side, which I assume will get fully revealed in like the next episode, as part of Hagoromo's reasoning for why he chooses Ashura over Indra. The reason I'm saying that right now is because we know that already. Like, we know that the issue between them is over Ashura being chosen over Indra. So it's not really a spoiler, because the part of the story we know of is that already. But he returns early, and the reason for that is because that one little scene that we get is, obviously, he sees that he has a conflict with the villagers as well, where they don't agree on what to do, and he just opens up his eyes and it's the Sharingan. So for me, the implication is that he used genjutsu on them and managed to convince them that way, basically forcing the situation to end. Instead of working with the people to resolve their problems, he just kind of used his power and made it happen, so that there is no problem because I forced you not to have a problem. Rather than Ashura, who encountered a very kind of tough situation of this basically decision of him having to make between, does he destroy the divine tree and basically let the land go back to being barren the way it was and all the people kind of die from starvation, or does he let the kind of civilization live on but they all die from divine tree poisoning, effectively, basically eating food that it has the sap of the divine tree in it, and that's causing them to go into that kind of endless slumber type thing, with the kind of webbing on their kind of chakra webbing on their hands. And he had to make the decision that the village elder was like, no, we have to, in my mind, this is better, that yes, some of us are going to die, but we have food, our civilization continues, but we know that we have this kind of deadly risk, but that is much better than dying of starvation and not having anything, and having this place return to this barren landscape that was caused by Ninshu. And so I liked him kind of initially just being like, what do I do? Like, I don't really know what decision to make here. How can I decide either way? And it sort of created a rift between him and Kana, Taizo and Ashura and Kana, the kind of trio that was formed last episode. And she obviously is very supportive of her village, and she doesn't want things to go back to the way they were. But I like how he's just kind of like, we can build a well, we can get water and have a kind of life kind of supply of water, by just building a well. And obviously they reveal is that no matter how far we've dug down, we've just hit bedrock and we can't get through that. And so it's just him making the decision that until I can guarantee that there is water, I can't destroy the divine tree or anything like that. And so he just starts to dig a well. It was just this big moment of determination as he puts all of his effort into just using his chakra and just basically digging through the ground to, force water to come up, build a well, and Taizo gets behind, and the two of them just work on their own. And then later they're joined by other people. And it's, just a couple of people from the village, but it's the people who obviously don't hate Ninshu as much as the others, and they believe that them learning Ninshu and getting this extra power will allow them to basically get through the bedrock and, save their village and just make it a overall more peaceful place where they can still have, food and stuff like that, a supply of water, but also not have this ongoing illness caused by the divine tree. And so they kind of brushed over exactly how the others got chakra, but I assume it's just that Ashura also has the power to give people the ability to use chakra, and he did that over time. I think Taizo was implied to have not chosen not to take it, because he didn't seem to use it at all, chakra at all. But maybe he just isn't a healer or something like that. So we get Kana gets chakra. She primarily uses it for healing, but there are others who also get, like, we see some of them have fire style chakra, some of them have wind style like Ashura, and I like how they all just begin to use their kind of chakra and their powers to break through the bedrock, and eventually it comes down to Ashura can hear something below, and basically in that big moment of kind of being proven right and kind of knowing that there's water underneath, does one final blow on the bedrock using effectively a kind of proto Rasengan. It's definitely a kind of sphere of blue energy. Obviously, the difference here being that he's been shown to use wind style rather than just chakra directly. So is this like wind style Rasengan kind of sort of situation forming here, rather than it just being a normal Rasengan, which is a kind of just neutral chakra attack, that is suited for adding wind to it. So that was a kind of an interesting thing, just that, like, over the course of this experience, Ashura did actually grow stronger as well, practicing using his otherwise kind of very odd looking kind of wind style attack where he just kind of gets a swirl of air and just kind of jams it into the ground. This one, it had power to it because it was like compressed chakra, so it definitely showed the development of his powers along with this. And then, yeah, like, I like the way the episode went, in that they cut away from the start of the building of the well to Indra returning very suddenly, and then you have scenes with, like, Hagoromo and Gamamaru discussing things, and that, like, he's back already, and the other people back in the Ninshu village kind of immediately want Indra to be named as a successor, because he won, basically. He arrived back first, he had resolved his problem. But then Gamamaru kind of admits that, like, yes, I've been looking at them, and so when Ashura returns, what we do get is basically just Gamamaru's thoughts on what he's seen, and that Ashura is very tenacious, he put a lot of drive and determination into what he did, and then we cut off before we hear what he says about Indra, but he says, about Indra and the village he did, and, like, there's this implication that he did something wrong, or you need to know something about what exactly he did to resolve that issue that we're not fully sure about what exactly happened. So this is clearly one of the things that shifts his decision, Hagoromo's, knowing that Gamamaru was aware of roughly what went down in each situation. But with Ashura, I like that they show that over the course of the year what happened was that the water level came up, and effectively you got this well, and because they got the well going up in the mountains, the water flows down into the village, so they have a source of water right there and then, and they can destroy the divine tree without causing any severe problems to the way the kind of village was at that point in time. So just this big kind of moment of just like, oh, the divine tree is sort of beginning to grow back, but no, Ashura could end up destroying it in the end, and it's burning. We just also have this other moment where Indra and Black Zetsu talk again, and Zetsu further begins to kind of plant these seeds in Indra's mind that, he's still not choosing you. You're back already, he hasn't chosen you yet. His vision for the future is different than yours, and yours is correct. So, the subtle manipulations of Zetsu are definitely beginning to have an impact on Indra, and the preview for next episode clearly shows that the decision Indra doesn't take it very well. But yeah, the big moment for me was the return of Ashura. That was such a good scene because everyone's like, "Oh, he's returned after a year. He's finally back." Because Hagoromo had put off his decision until Ashura was back, so we could compare the two. That was the whole point. It wasn't just who comes back first; it was how they resolved the problem, who did it better. And he returns, but he doesn't return alone. He returns with Taizo, with Kana, and some of the other people he kind of had an issue with. And it's just this big moment where I think that really impressed Hagoromo, that he did return with others, and they wanted to see the Ninshu village and train in Ninshu, that he has spread this around, and he didn't do it on his own. He got other people, part of the village, to join with him and use their powers together to resolve this issue. The exact same way that Hagoromo did, starting this whole Ninshu creed a couple of episodes ago. He got people together, gave them powers, and using that power they were able to really affect things in the various locations which were torn apart by Ninshu previously. And it was mainly like building bridges, but like a lot of other stuff as well. And so Ashura just very clearly did the same thing. He is continuing the path of Ninshu, and that he has the same ultimate ideals that Hagoromo wants. And he did say earlier on in the episode in that, Indra is skilled, but he tends to do stuff on his own, whereas Ashura, brings people together, but doesn't often take the lead on things. And he's open to either of them developing. But obviously, in this moment here, he sees that he's returned on his own really quickly, having resolved the issue in some weird way, versus Ashura, who took a long time, but very clearly has shown himself to be a better leader during this whole journey. Leading these people, giving them Ninshu, and having them come back as well to be part of the Ninshu village. So, just a really big moment. As you can see how much he's grown, and that Ashura is a leader now. He has a similar level of confidence to Indra now, and that he knows kind of that it was a good thing that he did, and he kind of wants to do more of that. And it's going to be interesting, I suppose, in the next episode to see if he actually is more willing to take on Ninshu or not. If he is named as the successor, depending on how that exactly goes, will he be accepting of it now, or will he still be like, oh no, Indra, you're the one who deserves to have it the most because you're more powerful. That's like how he takes the decision. Ashura, almost more than Indra, is I think the more interesting one. Will he be accepting of it now that he kind of knows what it is to lead, and that he can actually have an effect on things going forward? But yeah, just really, really good stuff, and very much I think they're absolutely setting up Ashura and Kana as somewhat of a relationship, in that those two together, are they the ones who effectively like start the Uzumaki clan? Senju clan, I suppose, is the more likely one, which begs the question of like where does wood style come from, given that Senju, their main thing is the wood style jutsu. And just like in general, like us knowing that the Uchiha clan starts because of Indra. Indra hasn't been set up with anyone in terms of a relationship, so clearly whatever fight happens coming up shortly between the two brothers, they don't kill each other, and that they clearly have to start relationships. So I assume there are potentially like two fights similar to Naruto and Sasuke. There are probably two fights separated by a lot of time, enough time for them to have families of their own and basically start their own legacies and that sort of thing. But I'm really interested to see how they actually approach doing that, which makes me believe there are probably at least 3-4 episodes still left to go on this thing, which I actually don't have a problem with. Like, yes, I'd love to get back to canon, but I'm honestly at the point like, give this time. This is really good. Like, give this as much time as it needs, because they're doing it well. I think the animation is perhaps not like as good as it could be, but I still think it's pretty solid for the most part. Loving the music. The couple of new tracks they're using for this stuff is really well done. Especially the kind of main kind of Otsutsuki kind of Ashura Hagoromo Indra theme is just really well done. the kind of ancient Ninshu theme is really nice. So there's so much I think good stuff going on in this. I think ultimately the one problem you would perhaps have with it is they're being a little bit vague with some of the stuff about like, wait, the divine tree is still there, but they've burned it. It was growing back, but what exactly was sealed away in the moon? What's the Gedo statue versus Kaguya, and can Ashura actually give people Ninshu, or do they have it themselves because they had eaten chakra, or that some of the specifics are a little bit confusing, but in general I don't think it's too big of a problem because the character stuff, what the plot is actually so well done that it kind of takes away from like some of the specifics that they're not quite giving us that maybe they should be. But yeah, that's I think about all I want to say. I you can always make an argument, I suppose, about the very end scene of this episode about should they have left it off with just him about to name his successor like they do, or should they have just ended it with my successor is Ashura, and then leave that as the cliffhanger? Next episode we will get the reaction to Ashura being named successor, versus next episode we will get the successor. I suppose it's been enough time since they've actually said it in the show that Ashura was named successor and stuff like that, that perhaps people don't forget that, and it will be more of a shock. But it's just a kind of a... I suppose if you had a different writer on the episode, you probably would have had it end in a slightly different way. But that's that. Next episode, they very much seem to... I don't think they quite seem to set up that like there's a fight coming next episode, but that it's going to focus more on Indra and his reaction to the naming of the successor, and potentially his leaving Ninshu and going off on his own, and I suppose starting the Uchiha clan from there, and Ashura, forced to kind of take on the role of successor to Ninshu, given that Indra has kind of left and made his decision to kind of abandon everyone, or something like that. So I think there's some really interesting stuff going next time out. Now, I don't know if it's confirmed, but I'm not sure if there's an episode of Naruto Shippuden next week. I've heard some people say there's like a Pokemon special for like the upcoming movie or something like that airing in Japan next week, and because of that, Naruto usually gets kind of pushed back a week, so we may not have a Naruto episode next week. So that's disappointing if that is the case, but if there is one, I will review it. I'm not just going to be like, okay, I trust all these rumors and we'll just see how that goes. If there is an episode next week, I'll review it. The other Naruto thing is that Boruto Chapter 3, the new manga, is out today. It should be out later on today, depending on how quickly it is or is not translated. So my review of that will be out either later on today or tomorrow, depending on how late that chapter actually goes up. So keep an eye out on my channel for that. Final thing to say, if you guys want to help support my channel so I can make better videos, make them more often, and as I said before, my main goal is to get a new camera because my current one is very much on the way out. You can help support my channel on Patreon. Link to that in the description. You can help support my channel on Patreon, and there are different reward tiers available depending on how much you give to support the channel. And then if you're not into the Patreon style of donating, there is also a PayPal donation link for more kind of one-off kind of donations to help my channel. So link to both of those is in the description. Any help will be much appreciated, but other than that, that's been the video. Thanks for watching, and bye.